Does quantum grammar work in court? I get this question via email from folks interested in learning correct sentence structure, communication, parses, and text grammar. Interested parties will say, I want to take classes. I want to learn this stuff. But does it work in court? Think about what you're asking. Does quantum grammar work in court? Does legalese work in court? What do you mean by work? Do you go to work every day? Think about it. So I think what people mean by this is they're asking me, is quantum grammar successful in court? Now, if you hire an attorney, now this is for educational and entertainment purposes only. I'm not giving legal or lawful advice. This is just for knowledge cultivation purposes. You can take from it what you want to. I'm not telling you to do anything or suggesting anything. I'm just telling stories here, okay? And you can take from it what you want. Just let me clear that up. If you hire an attorney, you have a court case, someone's suing you, for example, or someone's trying to take your house, or you're getting a divorce, or child custody or something, and you hire an attorney. Do you say, before you put that retainer down, do you say, are we going to win? Is this going to win? Are we going to win? And if they say no, what are you going to do? Not pay them? Not have an attorney? Not do anything? Do you see what I mean? If someone asks me, does quantum grammar work in court? Is quantum grammar successful in court? Well, let's use an analogy of martial arts of what I'm fond of doing. If someone decides, oh, I want to learn how to fight, and they go to, for example, I don't know, a taekwondo gym or a Shotokan karate gym. Before they put their money down, they ask the teacher, the sensei, does this work? Does this work on the street? What do you think the answer is going to be? If I learn this, will it work on the street? You have to put it into context, folks. You can give someone tools. You to build something. You can give them a hammer. You can give them some nails. You can give them a saw. Are they going to be able to build something? Well, it depends upon them, doesn't it? It depends upon how well they know those skills, how practiced they are in them, how long they've studied, how long they've been doing it, experience. Just like fighting. Will Shotokan karate work on the street? I don't know. Maybe you're a street fighter and you've been fighting for 10 years on the street using Shotokan karate. Well, yeah, it's going to be successful for you. It has been successful. But if you've never fought a lick in your life, you're probably going to have some issues. So it's the same thing with quantum grammar. You have to learn it. And then, even if you do learn it, it depends upon you, how good you are at it, how much heart you have, what you can stand up to, what you can withstand, your temperament. It's like my boxing coach, my boxing trainer used to tell me when I was younger, about fighting. Like if someone gets you mad, you've lost. You've lost if you're angry, especially against an experienced fighter. You've lost because now you're out of control. Once they get you mad, then they get you. So, long story short, does quantum grammar work in court? Is it successful in court? And what you mean by court, I'm sure they mean foreign vessel and dry dock. Well, it can be. It depends upon you. It depends upon your knowledge of what you're doing and how you enter those venues. Because there are things that you have to do and have to know in order to be successful or to cultivate success in those areas. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about what I will call the quantum grammar domain, which includes mostly this YouTube area that we're in right now. So a lot of folk, not a lot, actually there's very few folks, but within the quantum grammar domain itself, there are folks that have more subscribers than me. Yeah, I can think about 2 people that have more subscribers than me that promulgate certain ideas, certain concepts, and certain what I would call illusions or even delusions about this stuff. And most of it is money based. They would like you, the YouTube viewer, to believe that they have the power to force people to do stuff. For example, and this is a really good example, I think, from years ago, when a certain group of folks put out what is called a media command letter. Does anybody remember this? I feel like most of the people watching this are new to this. But those of you that have been around for a few years, like myself, you will remember the media command letter that a group of folks put out and disseminated amongst themselves and had people, live life claimants as well as non-live life claimants, put their names on it and send it out to different news media outlets. And it supposedly was commanding these news media outlets to bring forth the chief, to stop not talking about the chief, because they thought, oh, they're hiding the chief. They know about the chief, but they're hiding the chief, whoever the chief is. If you know, you know. The silliest thing I've ever seen, just about. Because how are you going to tell somebody that you don't know, walk into their place of employment and tell them how to do their job? You think you can force or command someone to do that? What is the first rule of contract in the domain of fact? Contract is by consent. You can't force someone to do something against their will unless they are trespassing upon you. Best example of that, if you are physically attacking me and your will is to hurt me and I stop you, I'm forcing you to stop against your will, but I'm doing it for the safety of my vessel because you're trespassing. You're harming me. So I stop you. I force you to stop. That's the only time force works. I mean, that whole concept of how force works in correct sentence structure, force continuum. So in the document, contract, postal vessel, court, venue is the same thing as this, pretty much, but on paper, bureaucratically. And the way you stop the bureaucratic trespass with the document, contract, postal vessel, court, venue is to offer a geometric level playing field of contract of correct grammar with facts mathematically certified forwards and backwards with the correct banking mechanics, postal mechanics, flag mechanics, grammar mechanics, all that stuff. You offer that. Now, all of a sudden, those folks that are trespassing upon you with malicious volition, they don't want to be exposed. They don't want things to be fair. So they leave. They scurry away back into the darkness, and the trespass stops. You force them to stop hurting you, harming you, or trying to otherwise have malicious intent or volition towards you, harming you. That's how it works. So if you think that you can send a media command letter to people you don't know, to different media outlets, to tell them how to do their job, if you think you have a position to do that, you might be an authoritarian follower, because that's what the authoritarian fiction system does. It wants to force you to do things. It wants you to force you to wear a face diaper. It wants to force you to, get one of those things. That's the same principle and concept. So why would you ever want to do that to somebody? And that's why I just laugh at people who try to say that they disqualify other people or they want to force people to stop and correct. I'm going to force you to stop and correct. How are you going to do that, bro? How? You haven't done it for 8+ years. You're not going to start now. Literally, I've seen for myself, from my own personal position, I've seen people put out goofy ass arrest warrants for me in what they think is quantum grammar, but it's actually quantum gobbledygook. Years ago, this was done, but nothing ever comes of it because it doesn't mean anything, because it's fiction, babble, BS. Now let's get back to the main topic at hand. Does quantum grammar work in court? Is quantum grammar successful in court? Because people want to know this. Some people want to know this before they start taking the workshops. Again, think about that for a minute. Are you going to ask an attorney the same thing if you're going into a fiction case with them? And then if they tell you, well, I don't know, it might work and it might not work. It depends upon how strong our case is. It depends upon what you tell me in the circumstances. We might win, we might not win. Are you going to not pay them then and just get steamrolled? Or what are you going to do? So it's the same thing with this, only the difference is with correct sentence structure, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be you taking the responsibility, not an attorney. You are the authority of your construct. Now, hypothetically, you could, again, not legal or lawful advice, I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm giving you hypotheticals here. If you were to bring someone like me on board that has closure on the grammar and can use it in those venues, knows how to utilize a federal postal court, knows how to navigate through a foreign vessel and dry dock and things like that, and knows the mechanics and the documentation and credentials you have to have, and the mindset, more importantly, that you have to have. You could bring someone like me on board to help. But there are also certain things in place that would have to happen for that. Like, I mean, this is crazy stuff, first of all. That's why I ask you, I suggest, and this is a suggestion, if you're going to use this stuff, learn it yourself, do it yourself. That way you can't blame me or anyone else if it's not successful. You learn it. It's just like if you're going to build your own house. Sure, you can hire a contractor, and then they build it, and if something happens, you blame them, right? You blame them, you sue them, whatever you want to do with the fiction system. But if you know how to build a house and you build it yourself, you only have one person to take credit or to take blame if it's successful or if it falls apart, and that's you. Wouldn't you rather have it that way than to rely or have to be dependent on someone else? That's the stuff I try to cultivate. I try to cultivate a sense of autonomy in people so that they gain the confidence. Because I know everyone's brought up in an authoritarian schooling system. The public school system, not to mention the private school system, is authoritarian to the core. You do what you say. You do what they tell you, or else you get punished. Stand up, sit down, got to raise your hand to use the restroom, got to be here from this time to that time, or else your parents are going to get sanctioned. It's all authoritarian, and it's basically there to mold you into to a worker, to a little worker bee, or to prepare you for prison. One of the two. So I understand that that's a hard concept to get out of, to be dependent on someone else. That's why lots of people want to pay money so that they can follow a chief, because they think they have a leader that knows what's best for them and can make decisions for them. And that's just like the actors in office right now, that people have so much faith in, despite despite the very clear evidence that what they ran their campaign on is not what they're doing now. They're actually doing the opposite of that. But I'm not going to get into that because this is about the mechanics of the foreign vessel and dry dock. The mechanics that have to be in place when or if you walk into a foreign vessel and dry dock and you're going to use correct sentence structure, communication, parse, syntax, grammar. The first, most important thing, even if you have closure on grammar or if you don't, is a claim of the live life with the correct witness mechanics, flag mechanics, postal mechanics, banking mechanics, and grammar mechanics. And your name, your punctuated name, must be in the copyright copy claim section of that document. Now, you can choose to have someone else's name in there, but if you do, you have given authority to them. And if you're going to work with me, I'm not going to work with you if you have someone else's name down there. I'm not going to work with someone that's not taking accountability for themselves. If you're relying on someone else, then go work with them. But if you take responsibility for yourself, total accountability, I'll work with you. So you got to have that in place with correct grammar mechanics and 3 or more live life claim witnesses. 3 or more live life claim witnesses. That means they have witnessed you. They know you're a living, breathing creature. They have seen you and heard you. So at the very least, you have to do a video witnessing. And the greatest thing would be to do it in-person witnessing. But sometimes that's not always possible. So you need to have those things in place. You have to have a live life claim. Now, second most important thing, but not necessary, is that you have closure on correct sentence structure, communication, parse, syntax, grammar. If you have closure on the grammar and you have the live life claim, you can walk into those venues, technically. Now, the reason why I say that you don't have to have closure on the grammar, but you do need a live life claim, is because you can bring someone like me on board, and then I, through consent, your consent, and a contract, would take authority over the grammar. You would be a co-author of the document, contract, postal vessel, court, venue that I would write. But I would be the ultimate authority of it with your consent because I'm the one that has closure on the grammar. As long as you understand, have cognition in plain, simple English or whatever over what's in that document of correct grammar, we're good to go. You're co-author, I'm co-author. I'm the authority of it. My name comes last because I'm the one that knows the grammar and you're not. But you do have cognition of what's going on. And you have ultimate say on what you do or you don't do. I have authority over the document because I wrote it with your input. Does that make sense? Hope it does. So the next thing that would be beneficial to have would be a C-PAS-C treaty, created again by you, under no one else's authority but your own, as long as you have cognition as to what that is. Okay? And so with the C-PAS-C treaty or the live life claim, you can tow other fiction documents as salvages, like a driving license, a passport, other things. You can tow them as salvages if you so choose, if you know the laws of salvage and you know those mechanics, those timeline mechanics and things like that. It's very helpful. Very helpful. It's also important to maintain those 3 principles that I'm always talking about: the balance of the honor and the grace, the position of peace and neutrality, the maintenance of rule 1, rule equal. You walk into a foreign vessel in dry dock, you're walking in with the volition not to do harm, not to mess anybody's day up, because think about it. They have invited you there, or not invited, they actually summoned you there, most likely. Most likely in most scenarios, right? There are other different scenarios, but 9 times out of 10, you've been summoned there, to use a fiction term. So they want you to be there. So good. Now you walk in, but you're peaceful and neutral. You're not there to cause anyone harm. What you're there to do is to stop harm from happening to you. It's a huge difference. Now, I know there's folks out there, and I've dealt with folks like this who are very angry about what the fiction system has done to them, throwing them in jail, taking their houses, things like that. Understandably, they're angry. But also understand this, being angry is not going to serve you in that location at all. First of all, that location is basically created the energy in that location, and you can certify this by walking into any court, pretty much any district court or whatever. The energy there is specifically directed to throw you off your normal condition of state. It's pretty much there to stress you out, create anxiety, trepidation, fear, what's going to happen. It's you're being bombarded when you walk in there. So I feel you would have to be mentally prepared for all of this before you walk in there with those three principles, and also to be a steward of your breathing, the cadence of your speech. You hear the way I'm talking right now. I'm talking fast here and there. But in those types of situations, those types of scenarios, I would be speaking the way I'm speaking right now, with firmness, but with a slow cadence, because I find that most times the little man on the third plane with the black robe does not like it when you do that. It throws them off their square. They try to hurry you up. They try to, we got other cases. You're holding up everything. You're inconveniencing people. Well, guess what, bro? You invited me here. You wanted this. You saw my paperwork that I filed in. I didn't submit it. I filed it in. You knew what was coming. Here it is. I'm giving you what you want. I'm here to perform in a positive manner. That type of thing. And yes, I'm being a little bit of a smartass. But that's how I look at it. And of course, before you go to that foreign vessel in dry dock, you would use the postal mechanics to post your roads to go there. I'm not going to go into detail on these types of things because I don't know what people's level of grammar knowledge is here. And what I don't really want happening is people listening to me and then going and doing things without closure on the grammar. They're just going to get themselves into trouble. Now, I mean, that's their choice if they want to do that. That's nothing to do with me. But I don't want to inadvertently cause that to happen. It's not my volition. My volition is to cultivate knowledge out there. So, all right. So you have to know these mechanics if you're going to walk in there, and if quantum grammar is going to be successful for you, or actually not quantum grammar, if you're going to be successful. Volition is the most important thing. Time and again, this comes up. If you have the correct volition, things will turn out the way they're supposed to. If you have correct volition. If you're going in there with the volition to mess somebody up, or you want people to be afraid of you, or you want to bully people, it's not going to work for you. Why would you? This is a rhetorical question, but why would you want to do to them what they're doing to you? You're just perpetuating the cycle of bullying and despair and whatever else is going on in that system. My volition is to stay away from that. Get that away from me. Stop the trespass. I don't have to deal with it anymore. I'm over here being peaceful and neutral. They're over there trying to get lawyers' fees and court costs and sanctions and whatever else they're doing, putting people in jail. I don't want anything to do with that. That whole system is fiction. BS. That's why I do correct sentence structure, communication, parse, syntax, grammar. That's why I remember having a conversation with an individual I was friends with for a while who was big into common law, and they were studying correct sentence structure, but I don't feel they ever got closure on it. But they were trying to argue with me on the phone, saying that the courts, meaning the foreign vessels and dry dock, will not recognize the punctuated name. He's like, try and go in there. Try and use the punctuated name. I said, you're exactly right. They're not going to recognize it because they're not going to recognize facts. They don't want anything to do with quantum grammar. They don't have anything to do with quantum grammar. They don't have anything to do with correct sentence structure, communication, parse, syntax, grammar. No, they're not going to cognize the punctuated name. They're going to try and get the punctuated name out of there. And they're going to try every tactic in their little playbook to do that. Try to get you mad, get you scared. They're going to bring the sheriffs or the bailiffs to surround you like something's going to happen to you. I mean, potentially this could happen, but it's all up to you how you stand there. You hold the position or you don't. And yeah, you might say all these things and do all the correct things, and you still might get snatched up, smacked around, and put in jail. You have to know this before you walk in there. What's the worst thing that could happen? Am I okay with that? Because that's the way the fiction system is. There is no guarantee that that won't happen using correct sentence structure. Why does the fiction system have the power that it has? Because it has the guns and clubs. We don't have that. We have correctness. And by correctness, I mean together along the same straight line, meaning correct sentence structure. That's what we have. Correct volition, correct sentence structure. So you may run into some bumps and bruises along the way, but it's still going to turn out okay with you if you have everything correct, if you have all your I's dotted and your T's crossed. Because this grammar cannot be used for malicious purposes if it's correct. It simply cannot. I've never seen it in 8+ years. Like I remember somebody, the same guy that was behind the media command letter, he put out some kind of document supposedly demoting a guy named Sergeant Robert Leroy Horton. If you folks know this name, you probably remember this. The document was like he demoted the sergeant from sergeant to trashy bitch. Literally, someone put this in a document in quantum gobbledygook. Do you think that thing held water? No. It was like a publicity stunt. So long story short, the answer to the question, does quantum grammar work in court, i.e., is quantum grammar successful in court? In court, what you mean by court, if what you mean by court is the document, contract, postal vessel, court, venue, then for me, yeah, 100% successful. It might be different for you. It just depends upon you. If you take authority over your construct, you take accountability over yourself and your construct, you learn the grammar, then it's all up to you as to whether it's successful or it works in court or not. And by court, I mean the four corners of a document, contract, postal vessel, court, venue. Now, what you mean would be foreign vessel and dry dock. But if you play your cards right and you have the correct knowledge, you won't even have to go in there, probably, most likely. You'll be able to do it through a federal postal court. And I'd be more than happy to teach you how to do that. But first, you got to learn the grammar. And once I can certify that you have learned the grammar, you can pass the test. You can syntax off the top of your head and explain everything. You can create a correct sentence structure. Boom, on the spot. You can tell me where the particles of negation are, and you can give closure as to why they're particles of negation. I'll be more than happy to help you get a CPAS C treaty, fate writ volition claim, port authority claim, tell you the specific mechanics of posting roads and moving in and out of these venues and these different vessels and things like that, using correct sentence structure. All that stuff opens up to you, but first you have to have a foundation of grammar. Period, end of story. Otherwise, it's a no-go. Because if you have a shaky foundation, anything you build on it is just going to fall over probably. Because, folks, the fiction is always watching, and they have the bigger guns and clubs. But again, the only authority that can be had over you is the authority that you allow to be had over you. Contract is by consent. I can't say that enough. If you see contract by coercion, that's not contract. That's fiction. Contract is you agreeing and consenting to something. That's simple. That goes with anything. That goes with process servers and everything. But you have to be aware of the consequences of what you do. You got to know what you're doing. Simple. So simple, folks. Thanks for watching. Que sera, sera.